Paul, male 1. What if the forest behind your house wasn't just trees and wildlife? What if it held something darker that chills your very soul? I'm Paul, and today I will take you on a journey into a hidden forest whose secrets will haunt you forever. Are you ready to face the unknown? I grew up in a small Alaskan city, a place known for its eerie ambience, the kind that seeped into your bones and whispered ghost stories at every turn. My family was notorious for moving around a lot, which left me feeling like a ghost myself, floating through life, always just out of reach, always on the outside looking in. My sister and I bore the emotional toll of these changes. Losing friends was a constant agony, and school bullies were like shadows lurking around every corner. As we settled into yet another unfamiliar neighborhood, I often wandered into the woods at the edge of town, trying to escape. These woods were thick and dark, filled with a sinister charm that felt almost alive. You could hear the soft rustle of leaves, a whisper that felt like it was calling me deeper in. They seemed to hold secrets, stories of the spirits that roamed under the veil of the trees. I sometimes imagined I could see faces in the bark, twisted and gnarled like forgotten memories. Yet despite the unease tugging at my gut, I felt drawn to their depths, to the shadows that beckoned me. It was a mix of fear and fascination, an intoxicating blend that still haunts me. After moving yet again, I found myself in what seemed like a maze of trees right behind our new home, a hidden forest. I had never noticed it before, even as I wandered the backyard in my childhood solitude. This place felt unlike anything I had encountered. A creeping dread crawled up my spine the moment I stepped near. The air was thick, almost as if the forest pressed in on me, suffocating rather than welcoming. I remember the unsettling silence that filled the space, a silence so profound that it felt unnatural, as if nature itself had hit pause. No birds sang and no rustling leaves accompanied the gentle breeze. Just stillness. It was eerie. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, I ventured deeper. Each step felt laden with a heavy weight, as if the ground beneath me shifted with every footfall. Shadows danced between the trees, weaving in and out of visibility, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was alive, aware of my presence. It almost felt like hundreds of eyes were watching me, hidden within the gnarled trunks and tangled underbrush. The further I went, the stronger the sensation of being observed became. Every little sound, a snapped twig, the whisper of wind through leaves, sent my heart racing. What was it that lurked in this suffocating darkness? What secrets lay hidden in this mysterious paranormal forest? The dread of the unknown wrapped around me tighter with each passing moment, urging me to turn back. Yet, I was drawn forward, into the depths of this creeping nightmare. It started off as just a curious wander into the depths of the hidden forest, but soon things took a turn that I never expected. On one of my explorations, I stumbled upon peculiar symbols carved deep into the trees, their jagged lines twisting like snakes. I swear they seemed to writhe in the fading light. I couldn't resist the urge to draw closer. Each one felt like it was whispering secrets from an ancient time, secrets that perhaps were never meant to be uncovered. Scattered among the underbrush were odd artifacts, broken shards of pottery, rusted metal bits, and something that looked like a stone idol, its surface eroded but still emanating a malevolence I couldn't quite grasp. Each piece felt like a breadcrumb leading deeper into a story steeped in darkness, making my heart pound with a mix of anxiety and fascination. What were these signs trying to tell me? But the most unsettling moments came at night. The forest seemed to come alive, transformed almost. It felt heavy, as though the air thickened with a pressure that seeped into my thoughts, a palpable dread that wrapped around me like a shroud. Shadows shifted and danced just beyond the reach of my flashlight, and I could have sworn I heard the faint echo of whispers, as if the very trees held their breath, waiting for something or someone. Each visit left me grappling with a clawing sense of unease, a nagging question lingering in my mind. What dark history lay hidden in this haunting place, and what or who was still lurking beneath its eerie canopy? You know that feeling when you're being watched. It's unsettling, isn't it? Well, after finding those strange symbols and artifacts in the hidden forest, that sensation crept over me like a chilling fog. It started slowly, almost imperceptibly, as I wandered deeper into the woods. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, my mind playing games. But soon, I found myself caught in a web of dark, shadowy figures flitting between the trees. their forms flickering like candle flames. I stood still, holding my breath, straining to catch a glimpse of these apparitions, but the forest was a master of concealment. Shadows danced and twisted just out of reach, leaving me unsettled and intrigued. As I moved cautiously, my eyes darted from one edge of darkness to another, and I could feel the air change, thickening, charged with a tension that prickled my skin. That's when I started hearing them. Whispers. Soft, eerie sounds that floated through the branches like a forgotten hymn. Words I couldn't decipher. An unintelligible language that sent shivers down my spine. What were they saying? Did they know I was there? With each passing moment, doubt seeped into my mind, blurring the lines of reality. Was I really alone in this eerie forest, or did someone, want me to know that I wasn't? The deeper I delved, the more I questioned my own sanity. Those shadowy figures mocked my fears, and the whispers wrapped around me, pulling me closer to the edge of a terrifying abyss. I could feel my heart pounding, the thrill of dread the only thing grounding me to this world. Would I dare to uncover what lurked in the unknown? The forest took on a completely different persona at night. It was as if the daylight hours were a cruel facade, masking something sinister. The air became heavier, almost suffocating, as the temperature dropped dramatically. I remember standing on the threshold of that tree line, shivers racing up my spine. Strange noises echoed from deep within, the kind of sounds you do not forget. Branches snapping, low growls that seemed to hiss through the shadows. It was as if the forest itself was alive, and it was angry. One night, while wandering deeper than I had ever dared before, I stumbled upon a sight that made my stomach twist. A small, abandoned cabin. The structure stood crooked and forlorn, with walls of splintered wood that told a story of neglect and despair. Vines twisted around its foundation like fingers trying to reclaim what was lost, and I could see the remnants of shattered windows, their jagged edges glinting in the moonlight. With a heavy heart and an anxious pulse, I approached. Each creaking step felt like an intrusion into a forgotten realm. I hesitated, wrestling with an overwhelming sense of dread. The atmosphere thickened around me, the stench of damp earth and decay wafting through the air. Inside, I could hear the muffled whispers of the wind, and for a moment, it felt as though I was not alone. Something lurked just beyond the threshold, waiting for the night to reveal its true nature. My curiosity tugged at me, but my instincts screamed to leave, to escape the embrace of the chilling forest locked in darkness. You wouldn't believe what I found in that cabin. As I stepped inside, the air felt thick, almost suffocating. It smelled musty, with a lingering odor of decay, as if it hadn't been touched in decades. The moment I crossed the threshold, chills ran down my spine. Every corner seemed to hold something sinister, objects that looked like they belonged in a nightmare rather than a cozy retreat. There were old, dusty books piled haphazardly on a crooked table, their pages yellowed and brittle, filled with symbols I couldn't understand. Some looked like they had been traced with blood, dark rituals perhaps. I hesitated as I looked closer. On the walls hung strange talismans made of twisted branches and animal bones, each one whispering secrets of the forest. But the real horror began when I heard it. A soft rustling sound, almost like someone or something was whispering just outside the door. My heart raced as I strained to listen, praying it was my imagination. But no, it grew louder. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, crunched on dried leaves, closing in on me. A wave of dread washed over me, heavier than any fog. I felt trapped, as if the forest itself didn't want me there. Panic set in, and before I could analyze what I was doing, my body reacted. I bolted out of that cabin, the haunting sounds echoing behind me like a sinister chorus, urging me to stay, to turn back. But there was no chance I was going to stick around and find out what lurked in the shadows of that creepy forest. After my unsettling experience at the cabin, I felt a gnawing need to understand what was happening. I started chatting with the locals, seeking answers that seemed to dance just beyond my reach. Their responses were often veiled in ambiguity, but hints of something sinister crept into every word. One weathered old man, his eyes flickering with shadows of fear, spoke of the ancient evil that lurked in the depths of the forest. He talked in hushed tones, as if afraid the trees themselves would hear him. "It's not just a forest," he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "It's a graveyard of lost souls." I could feel my heart racing as he recounted tales of those who ventured too deep and never returned. Another woman with a wary gaze warned me about the spirits that wander at dusk. Angry, restless, she called them. Every story seemed to weave a tapestry of dread, unraveling my courage thread by thread. My anxiety surged as I realized that the stories weren't merely folklore. They felt like warnings etched in the very air of the town. These legends, they weren't distant echoes, they felt alive, pulsing like a living entity, feeding off my growing paranoia. Did I genuinely want to uncover these dark secrets? Each tale haunted me more than the last, urging me to question what truly resided in that hidden forest behind my house. The more I learned, the tighter the grip of fear became, twisting my thoughts into a chilling blend of curiosity and dread. I have always believed that knowledge is power, but in my case it felt more like a curse. As my paranoia skulked in the shadows, I found myself returning to that accursed forest, compelled to dig deeper into its secrets. Each venture into those dark, twisted paths felt like a surrender to some insidious pull, urging me to uncover the truth that lay beneath the suffocating canopy of trees. With every trek, my heart raced, fraught with anxiety. The air around me grew heavy, as if the forest itself inhaled my fear and exhaled something darker in return. I wandered through the underbrush, feeling the tendrils of isolation wrapping around me tighter each time. Hours turned into days, blurred by the suffocating shadow of the woods. I would leave my home, craving answers, only to return with a heart that felt heavier, my mind suffused with dread. Simple daily tasks began to feel impossible. Friends called, puzzled by my absence. I could hear their laughter, bright and carefree, while I tiptoed through the depths of that creeping forest. Each time I stepped into the chilling gloom, I could almost hear the forest whispering to me, weaving stories of those who in their own obsessions had been consumed by its depths. Yet the deeper I went, the more my sense of reality dulled. Familiar places transformed into unsettling memories as the forest's grip tightened. Sometimes, alone in my room at night, I could swear I felt the forest's dark embrace creeping into my dreams, dragging me deeper into its suffocating darkness. The weight of the unknown settled in the pit of my stomach, a constant reminder that I had crossed a boundary from which there might be no return. You know, it wasn't until I started digging into the history of my little town that everything began to click. The whispers, the shadows flickering against the trees, and the oppressive feeling that weighed down every step I took into that forest. It all had a chilling foundation in something much darker than I could have imagined. The history of our city was rife with tales of an ancient evil lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be stirred. As I pored over ancient records and aging articles, the truth revealed itself in harrowing fragments. Apparently, generations ago, this land was home to a cult, shrouded in secrecy and enigma, whose rituals echoed through the ages, marking the forest as a site of dark tribute. Those who ventured too far were lured by the unholy spirits they believed resided there, only to meet a sinister fate, their souls bound to the trees as offerings to the malevolent force. Each time I returned to the forest, the air felt thick with an unspeakable dread, as if I were being watched from the shadows. The trees seemed to loom closer, their branches twisting like gnarled fingers reaching out, willing me closer to the heart of the horror. I felt an overwhelming sense of being a trespasser in that space, a place where fear of the unknown transformed into visceral panic. I was discovering something unimaginable, yet every instinct screamed at me to turn back. But what was the tribute it demanded? Was I destined to become part of its dark legacy? I could feel the ancient evil coiling around me, and I knew I was no longer just a curious intruder. I was caught in its grasp. There's a moment in every horror story where you find yourself standing at the edge of reality, teetering on the brink of madness. That's precisely how I felt when I arrived at the heart of the hidden forest. As I stepped deeper into that ominous realm, the air thickened, heavy with an unspeakable tension. The trees seemed taller, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands, eager to ensnare me in their clutches. I could feel it, not just the chill of the breeze, but the presence of something ancient and dark watching me. The whispers of the forest grew louder, twisting through the air around my ears, drowning out my thoughts. I tried to gather my courage, but doubt gnawed at the edge of my mind. This wasn't just an encounter. It was a showdown with the malevolent force that had been plaguing my existence. When it revealed itself, I felt a jolt of terror coursing through my veins. It wasn't a monstrous figure, but rather a shadow, an absence of light that seemed to pulse with malevolence. I could sense its hunger, the desire to consume everything in its path, especially my soul. My heart hammered in my chest as I stood frozen, faced with the very essence of fear itself. There was no escape. I was entirely ensnared. The struggle was relentless. I fought against the terror, each breath I took ripped away by an unseen entity. The forest seemed to conspire against me, roots snaking around my ankles, branches slashing my skin. In that chaotic moment, time blurred. All I could think about was survival, yet the weight of the past, a history of sacrifices and tragedy, crushed down on me. I knew I was not just battling for my life, I was grappling with every soul that had succumbed before me. Ultimately, I emerged, though not unscathed. The scar this encounter left wasn't visible. It was etched deep within my psyche, a chilling reminder that sometimes what lurks in the shadows is far more than just a figment of nightmares. When I stumbled back into my house that night, it felt like I was dragging the darkness with me. The encounter had left me shattered, not just in body, but deep within my mind. Each creak of the floorboards echoed like a taunt, a reminder of the terror lurking just beyond my backyard. I wanted to forget, to dismiss it as a bad dream. But with every passing day, I could feel the haunting thoughts creeping in, relentless and sharp. The walls of my home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a tainted prison. I could barely bring myself to look out the back window, terrified of what I might see. I would catch a glimpse of the trees swaying in the breeze, their shadows stretching long and sinister, and a chill would shoot down my spine. Who knew what had been watching me from those shadows? What ancient secrets lay hidden beneath the gnarled roots? Sleep evaded me, my nights consumed by vivid nightmares that replayed the horror over and over. In my waking hours, I would find myself lost in thought, each idle moment clawing at my sanity. Friends would ask if I was okay, but how could I explain that I was being haunted by the very fabric of my neighborhood? The creeping dread, the unshakable anxiety, that was my aftermath. The familiarity of my surroundings had turned ominous, and I was trapped in a world that seemed to have stolen the light. Even after all this time, the forest still lingers in my mind, a puzzle made up of haunting images and edge-of-darkness echoes. My encounter with that ancient evil left me with more questions than answers. What was it? What did it want? I've tried to forget, to push those memories deep beneath the surface, but no matter how far I move away, those nightmares claw their way back. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. The gnarled trees swaying under a heavy, invisible weight, the whispers that seem to float through the air, drawing me closer. Did I really escape, or is it just waiting, biding its time? The thought sends a shiver down my spine. Last week, out of the blue, a friend asked me if the forest still existed. I didn't even want to think about it. A sharp prickle of fear gripped my heart. What could possibly be lurking there now? Even as life continues here in this new town, the echoes of the forest follow me, a chilling reminder of the creep of the unknown. Have those twisting shadows lured more souls into their depths? The uncertainty is unbearable, and sometimes I wonder if I was the last to escape. This experience has left a chilling mark on my soul, a reminder of the darkness that lingers just out of sight. The forest behind my home is not just a patch of trees. It is a realm of secrets and whispers, where shadows dance in the corners of my mind. If you have ever stumbled upon the unknown, or if the shadows of familiar places haunt you too, share your stories in the comments below. We are bound by the eerie thrill of the unexplored. Subscribe for more haunting tales and find your place among those who dare to uncover the horrors that lie hidden. Together, we will continue to delve into the chilling mysteries that lurk in our daily lives. Do not let the darkness call to you alone. Join us. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to check out our next video for more spine-tingling adventures. Stay curious, stay safe, and stay vigilant.